Human beings have dreams, but you're just a machine. Welcome to Primary Technology, the show about the tech news that matters. We have all the earnings from this week. Everybody's making a ton of money, but some interesting news about Walmart, Meta, and Google. OpenClaw's out there, formerly Moltbot, formerly Claudebot, and yes, I did install it. Xcode 26.3 now has Agentic coding. Alexa Plus is now out for everyone. There's a new way to buy a Mac, and a ton more. This episode is brought to you by Quo, Shopify, and all of you, the members who support us directly. Thank you for that. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Robles, and joining me after a long pre-show is my friend Jason Aten. How's it going, Jason?
I'm a little tired.
From the pre-show.
We've already been recording for an hour and a half. You should sign up, friends. I promise you it's worth it.
There you go. Join.primarytech.fm. Get the pre-show, bonus episodes, ad-free, Primary Tech Daily, all of that. Do you know where that quote was from? It's a movie that I've quoted before.
Yeah. Well, only because we literally spent an hour talking about this, but yes. I'm pretty sure it's iRobot, right?
It is iRobot. That is right. I mean,
I can hear Will Smith saying it in my ear.
I think it's actually the professor. That
is it?
That.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's weird then that I hear Will Smith saying it in my ear.
Maybe you do. I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm wrong.
I'm off kilter after that pre-show because we got a little excited in the pre-show, or heated, however you want to interpret it. But we have a bunch of news. I'm running OpenClaw, which is an even worse name somehow, on a MacBook. And I don't know. It might be taking over my house right now. I don't even know. We're going to get into all the security implications of that. Some 5-star review shout-outs, though. Dylan C. from the USA says they love the podcast. 16 years old. I love hearing that we have demographics across the entire spectrum, internationally, age demographics everywhere. Travis H. 3781 from the USA anticipates the show every Thursday, learns a lot from both of us, and names both of us. Didn't even call you the other guy in the review. I thought that was nice. An anonymous Bay Area man from the USA says they use a Tor browser on Kali Linux. We had asked last episode what browser people use. I think he just wanted to say the most obscure thing, Jason.
Yeah, listen. I mean, his name is anonymous Bay Area man from USA, so he does care very much about his privacy.
That's true. But
there is very few scenarios where using the Tor browser is worth it.
I'm assuming anonymous Bay Area man is actually Merlin Man and that he listens to the show. That's what I'm choosing to believe going forward. Although he wouldn't use the Tor browser probably. But anyway, also, listener Andrew reached out via email, said that they use ChatGPT Plus on iOS, paying for that, and custom GPTs built for work. He's in healthcare compliance. And also that they did use the Invites app. Well, he downloaded it but never used it. So anyway, I appreciate that feedback. But also the custom GPTs, that is something we were talking about what AIs we pay for. I'm now paying for Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT Plus. I stopped paying for Perplexity, but I do still have custom GPTs that I use for shortcuts and YouTube stuff. I'm still A/B testing with Gemini, but Claude doesn't have like a custom Claude option yet. Like Gemini has custom gems, ChatGPT has custom GPTs. Claude, you can like make a project, and there's something called artifacts that I haven't really figured out what that is. So anyway, I'm still figuring it out, but I am using Claude more and more. Has it infiltrated your workflows at all? Are you using Claude?
Well, we're going to talk about it, but yes,
we're going to talk about Claude.
Only because of their ads. I'm going to give them a shot just because of these ads.
Just because okay, well, we got to talk about the Claude ads. Real quick, one thing of housekeeping. I had teased on previous episodes, and now it's out there in the ether. I posted it on social media, but I will be joining David Sparks on the Mac Power Users podcast as a regular co-host. I'm going to be on that show every week. I was very honored to be asked. It was hosted for a long time, or for the past 7 years. Stephen Hackett was the co-host with David Sparks. David Sparks has been doing Mac Power Users for 17 years. He was previously on the 5x5 network. Now it's on Relay. And Stephen Hackett's stepping away. Nothing bad happened at all. You can actually hear the episode this Sunday. They talk about the transition, but he's going to do more back-end work with _David Smith, who makes like the WidgetSmith and WatchSmith apps. And more work on Relay behind the scenes. And he's still doing Connected, so he's still going to be on that podcast. But he was stepping away from Mac Power Users, and David Sparks was looking for a co-host, and that's going to be me. And so every Sunday, there's a new episode of Mac Power Users, and I'm on the last few minutes of this Sunday's episode is kind of like a passing the baton from Stephen to Stephen, which is very funny. Like, David doesn't even have to say another name now. He can just keep saying
Well,
Stephen.
At first I thought, of course they picked the right guy. My co-host is the best co-host, so why wouldn't you want to pick him? And then I was like, so there's only so many podcasters named Steven, and this just makes it easy. There's very few at your level You and Stephen Hackett, I think, are basically it, right? I don't know how many other Stevens there are.
I think so. There's a lot more Johns than Stevens. I know that. You got John Syracuse, John Rod. But anyway, but I wanted to say that because if you're curious to listen, and Mac Power Users is a very different show from Primary Tech, and nothing is changing, by the way. Primary Tech still going forward just as it is. My YouTube channel, Shortcuts community, everything is still going forward. Mac Power Users is different because it's really like deep dives on a either single topic or a feature. Like if you look at the last few episodes, Stephen and David did a whole episode on focus modes, and they went really deep on that. And we have some plans to cover single topics, and it's a little more it's less news based. While we might cover the news, especially when there's big Apple news, it's really more of a deep dive on like how to do something. It's very like educational style. And so I'm very excited. I was honored to be asked to be on that show. And I'll get to be on another podcast. So
the episode, I listened to the episode from this past week. I mean, we talked about this, I think, but Mac Power Users is a show that I don't always listen to all of because there are some topics when I'm like, I cannot listen to an hour and a half on the Notes app. I think it's great, but I just can't, like, not because it won't be good, but because it will make me think I need to rethink the way I write. Right. And I just can't. I cannot have that even creeping into my brain because it will ruin 4 days of productivity for me, and I don't have that kind of time. That's the only reason why. If I did need to do that, 100%, that's where I would go. But they spent about 15 minutes talking about the news and the transition, and they said very nice things about you. So
they did. They were very kind. And I'm always looking for a reason to upend my task or note system or project management or literally anything. And so now I have a legitimate reason.
This is one of the big differences between you and I, because I can't write an article that's just like, I gave up this for this and did this thing, and people can be like, what? But you can make YouTube videos about that. So going through that pain actually has a benefit to you. Whereas for me, it's just like, hey, Jason, how come you didn't publish anything this week? It's like, I don't know. I have a task app and I have a new notes app, and my mail, I can't get my mail.
This is just background on me. I love to tinker with stuff.
Sure.
I've been a long time tinkerer. When I was a kid, my parents were kind of giving me like little robot sets, and I would build like solar powered robots. I love to tinker. And there is a part of me that, as I've been trying to grow my YouTube channel specifically, there's you need to make content. You need to make content that appeals to people right now. And so you cover the new features, you cover the new operating system. But I have felt personally a little bit of creative drought on like the tinkerer side. And I wanted to get back to that. I think Mac Power User is going to allow me that. But also, I bought a bunch of random stuff. I told you I was going to surprise you on today's show. And so in the spirit of tinkering, I have a couple things. One, I got another iPhone Air.
You did? It's not iPhone Power User, Steven.
I got iPhone Air over here. Just got that yesterday. I'll talk about that later in the show.
I would have sent you this one. It's a review unit. You could have just used it.
Yeah, but I have to send it back.
Okay.
I'll explain why. But anyway, I got iPhone Air, and then I got this thing, which I posted a picture of, this is like the ultimate tinkerer thing. You probably know about this because of your background. Maybe. This is an NDI encoder.
Yeah.
And so it would basically take an HDMI signal, puts it on your network, and then you can access that video signal through an app, whatever. And so I want to do some experimenting with this. I'm going to make a video about this for this weekend, actually. And then, I got some other stuff. But anyway.
I mean, NDI is what, like, live streams. Like, if you go to a concert or if you go to a church or you watch a football game, they're using NDI because that way they are just sending digital signals instead of analog, instead of like running SDI cables everywhere, because you can't run them over the internet, right? Like,
right. And,
so I'm interested to figure out what.
I'll tease it right now because I wanted to get my Nintendo Switch 2 playable in Apple Vision Pro without having to use my iPhone or iPad as like a piggyback device. Because there are apps. There's an app called Castaway, which you can run on your iPad. And if you use an HDMI capture card, you can open the Castaway app on iPad, open the Castaway app in Vision Pro, and see what is being ingested on the iPad. I wanted to see, can I do it without that? So I'm kind of teasing my video a little bit. I'm not going to share my results yet, but I wanted to try this. This was a very silly purchase. I am returning it, but this is a $700 box.
Yeah, that's my point. Like, you're not running a broadcast truck at a football game.
And people don't realize, like, when you get into like professional grade gear, like video encoders or SDI, HDMI, anything, it gets expensive. And so like This is not something you can get on Amazon either. Like I had to get this at B&H Photo, and it was $700. But anyway, I'm gonna try this thing, and it's perfect. Like it has like a little tripod thing. It's very like it's legit. You have to manage it by going to an IP address in your browser. Like it's very nerdy. But I had fun experimenting with it, so I'm gonna make a video about that. But then I also had to buy a developer's trap for Apple Vision Pro, and that's the last thing I'm gonna say. So wait for the video this weekend, and all will be revealed about what I'm doing with all of that.
That's bananas. See, I do like to tinker, but
yeah,
I like getting things done more than I like to tinker. And to me, like the tinkering is only until I find when I dial something in, I'm gonna just keep using it till it works. That doesn't. I don't think that it's bad for people who like to tinker. Like I am fascinated by that, and I'm really glad to know people like that, because there will be times when I'm like, oh, I wonder how this thing works. I bet someone has figured that out, or I wonder how to optimize this. But I will often look and I told you I was a bad journalist because I'm not
interested.
I'm not inherently interested in things I'm not already familiar with.
Right.
Also, though, another thing that I think makes me a fault of mine is that when I think about a product that comes, I don't automatically think, how could I change this thing to do something else with it, right? So, like, there are definitely I have a whole menu bar full of menu bar things that I'm like, oh, well, Mac OS doesn't do this. But I'm not thinking, like, can I make the file system behave differently? Am I doing... So, like, my brain is just like, I'm going to just figure out how I can use this tool. I'm going to come up with a workflow that works based on this. Because I think I'm kind of like the person who has an addictive personality and is like, I'm never going to drink because I'm just worried I'll become an alcoholic. Sure. I am the person who's like, if I start tinkering, I will never do another thing again. That's it. I will never be able to stop.
There are things like my setup in the studio has remained unchanged for 3 years. I use the same camera, the same audio interface, the same microphone. And like, I don't want to tinker with that because it would be so disruptive to everything that I do.
Yeah.
Now, one day, if I ever get one of those office shed people to sponsor my channel and send me a shed for free, if you're out there, I will take one, and I'll talk about you every video for a year. Then I'll upend everything, and I'll create a new setup. But like those kinds of things I want to tinker with. But then OpenClaw, I resisted it for at least a week. I was like, I'm not going to try this. I'm going to fall down a rabbit hole. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, I got to do this. I got to try this. And so I did. And now I have a virus in my house. But anyway, let's talk. We're going to get to that.
Okay. Because I have thoughts about it, but I'll wait till we get to it.
We'll get to it. All right. But real quick, right after last week's episode, it was Apple's earnings. And now we have earnings from other companies. Apple had a record quarter. I'll put a link to Jason Snell's 6 Colors article. He and Dan Morin did a recap of it. But revenue was up 16%. Over the year-ago quarter. iPhone and services revenue set all-time records. China growth was up 38%. And so Jason Snell has all the awesome charts. And the one I think is the most shocking is you go to this one, Apple regional growth year over year. And you can see this goes back several years, but you'll see the China graph really spike. And this is the iPhone 17 quarter, to be clear. So when you hear about the earnings, that it's a record quarter, it's because it's the previous quarter, which was the holiday quarter, Black Friday, Christmas, all the holidays, and also the iPhone 17 Pro, which it really seems like the 17 Pro lineup is what spiked all of this, what went really big in China. And there was things that were a little down, like iPad revenue was up 6%, but Mac revenue was down, but also because Apple didn't really release new Macs last fall.
Sure.
So all of those things compare. But they made a ton of money. It was a record quarter. You can see like this first graph, total Apple revenue. This was this past quarter compared to the last, 3 or 4 years. So they made a lot of money.
Yeah, I wrote about this in the context of for years we've been hearing about how everyone is trying to figure out how to replace the iPhone, right? There's glasses, there's ridiculous pins and other devices that they think you're going to carry around. And Johnny Ive and Sam Altman are working on making something, a pen, I don't know what it's going to be, right? Like some kind of a thing. And meanwhile, the iPhone literally had the best quarter it's ever had.
Yeah,
right.
Which
like
is wild.
They've just had that, right? It's like their revenue was up 23%. It's like,
yeah.
I think the iPhone is just fine. I don't think the iPhone is going to go anywhere. It doesn't mean that it's like they don't need to figure it out, but also the services business set a record. And those are the only two things. everything else that Apple makes is like, you could almost just chalk it up as feel good, making people like Apple still, because they can't stop making the Mac. I think they were going to at one point. They can't stop making the Mac. That is like the heart and soul of it, but it's just not the part that makes any money. Right. And I don't know. Everyone's trying to figure out how to replace the iPhone, and meanwhile, Apple is just like, the iPhone's fine.
Well, I also had a theory you reminded me of about making the Mac or not making the Mac. We talked about Creator Studio last week, and you had mentioned, and you even talked to Apple about Creator Studio versus like pros. Is this for pros? Is this for creators? And I was thinking, the one Mac that's really underserved and might be going away is the Mac Pro. And I find it interesting that the Mac Pro is kind of starting to wane, and the Mac Studio is now the flagship piece of hardware, like the top of the line, quote unquote, piece of hardware. Mac Studio, Creator Studio. But when you talk about pros, the Mac Pro is going away, and just the idea of a pro machine and maybe pro software, like that's just not where Apple's at, which I think is like what you said. Creator Studio is not for professionals. While professionals can use it, and Apple is not saying that a YouTube creator isn't a professional, that there is a distinction there, just like there is between Mac Pro and Mac Studio. There seems to be a distinction between Creator Studio and maybe pro apps like Adobe Suite or something. I don't know. I was just thinking about that with the hardware.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the reality of the Mac Pro is they don't sell very many of them.
Fair.
And
I'm not going to buy one.
And the need for the core competency of that device, which was expandability, is less of a case, because Apple's GPUs are fine for the things that Apple thinks you should be using them for. Sure. And for capture and for those types of things, you can just, Thunderbolt is a thing that was not a thing the way it is now at the time, right? It was still a thing, but it was not capable of the same kind of bandwidth. And, obviously, like John Syracuse is the person who talks about this the most.
He's still using an Intel Mac Pro, by the way.
But do you know what he uses it for? He does podcasts on it. The reason he cares is so that he can put NVIDIA video cards in it to play video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Windows video games. He's running video games on a virtual Windows computer on this thing, and so he has to have NVIDIA graphics cards. I feel like the solution for him is buy a Mac Studio and just buy a gaming PC.
It would probably be cheaper than a Mac Pro,
and it'll be more performant and better and longer. Like it's like this is that's not a particular problem. I think that a lot of people, and again, I'm not like begrudging him for that. I'm just simply saying it's not surprising to me that Apple has not identified that use case as a reason to keep the Mac Pro around, because the Mac Studio is so good. And I don't know that Apple at this point is able to exceed the bounds of like what they've put into like the M3 Ultra. So like really the only thing they could do is make the Mac Pro offer expandability, and I just don't think they see that as a use case when they look at the pro people who are buying these things. I just don't think they see that as we need this.
Right. And side note, if you go on Apple's website and try to buy Mac Pro today, it is still on the M2 series, to be clear, and we're on M5 in case anybody forgot. We got the M5 iPad Pro,
and there is an M3 Ultra out there.
There's an M3 Ultra out there. You can get that in the studio. There's also rumored M5 Max and M5 Pro MacBook Pros might be coming next week.
Like 2 days ago or something. They were supposed to
come out. Supposed to come out immediately.
I'm still waiting for the FedEx guy to bring me a review unit right now. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
But like, this is so expensive. I'm already at like $8,000, and you could get way more computer in a Mac Studio.
And you can put more memory, and you can put way more. You can put like 16 terabytes into a Mac Studio.
I don't know if that's true.
I think it is.
You can get 8 terabytes in this Mac Pro. Let's go over to the Mac Studio.
Yeah.
One of the other news, which I'll put. This is the other news we'll put right now. Apple changed the configurator when buying a Mac. So rather than having like these weird 3 pre-configured options, when you click buy on a Mac on their website, you now go straight to just configuring it.
Yeah,
and
as God intended.
Yeah, it is better. Like, I'll be honest, it is better. But let's see. Let me go with the Ultra, because that's how you get the most memory. Yep. You get 512 gigs of unified memory. Oh yeah, look at that. You were right.
You think I don't know these things?
You were right, Jason. It's not going to be a short. I'm just saying it for those who listen to the full show.
That's fine.
16 terabytes. When I got mine, I got the 8 terabyte, which is a lot.
But I do think the 16 is only available on the Ultra.
Well, let's fact check that now. Let me go with the biggest M Max chip, and we get. Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
8 terabytes. Okay, right again. All right, look at that. We covered that news. Where's that tab? New Mac Configurator. Boom.
Great.
Done with that.
We did it.
Did that. Covered it. 2 for 1. Also, last thing about Apple's earnings call, Tim Cook was on the phone saying things, and notably he said this: "We're excited for all the opportunities we'll have in the year ahead to deliver innovations that have never been seen before and enrich the lives of users every step of the way." What do you think he's talking about, Jason? Innovations we've never seen before.
I mean, have you seen an M5 Pro?
I knew you were about to say that. I thought you were about to say, have you ever seen an M5 iMac? No.
No, I'm just saying we've never. Literally, what he said is
Yeah.
probably true, because if they introduce
Right.
anything with a new chip, we've
Not
never seen it
seen-
before. We've also
there's
not
nothing.
seen the iPhone 18 yet. We've like there's so
But
that's just
innovations.
nonsense.
I mean, people are then saying, oh, iPhone Fold. Innovations we've never seen before.
Okay, we've seen foldable phones, so I don't think that that's true.
Mm.
We've also seen the demos of what Apple Intelligence is supposed to do, so it's not that.
Maybe Gemini. Who knows? Maybe the
Maybe-
HomePod with a screen. I've never seen an Alexa show. Actually, that's a lie. I literally had one for a day.
Yeah, I don't know what that
And then I
means.
returned it.
I don't feel like that's really.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like you could say that every single year, and it would be true. I feel like I don't know that it's. I'm hopeful that they're going to do some stuff, but when I think about like what would make me happy is, listen, I've been using occasionally this M5 MacBook Pro. It's
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic.
It's fantastic.
I probably, except for the fact that the one that they sent me only has 16 gigs of memory
Yeah.
and the 1 terabyte hard drive, I'd probably use it every day for everything. So if I could get an M5 Pro, I'm almost positive that there's a 0% chance I need an M5 Max.
I'll tell you what I
don't
used.
need a Max.
This is my review unit M5 MacBook Pro, and I used it to put OpenClaw Multiput ClawdBot on it. Anyway, we still got to get to that. But real quick, give me the other earnings rundowns, because there are interesting things with Google and Meta and even Walmart.
Yeah, I mean, they're all making a lot of money.
Fair.
They're all making a
basically it.
very, very lot of money. And there's a couple interesting things. One, everybody's beating expectations. That's
Yeah.
great. Apple beat expectations. Meta beat expectations. And Meta, the news from that was that the company is spending $130 billion on CapEx for 2026. I think that's correct. I don't have that number in front of me. That's basically every dollar that they make. in free cash flow.
162 to 169 billion.
For Meta? Okay.
Total
so that's
expenses.
basically every single dollar. Well, so it's CapEx expenses is the next one down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Up to
capital
135
expenditures.
billion. Yep.
115 to 135 billion for this year.
So I was right again. Anyway, moving on. But the point is they're going to spend every dollar of free cash flow on CapEx, which is building server farms, data centers, power grid stuff.
Right.
That's basically buying chips, all that stuff. That they're basically spending all their money on that. Tesla didn't have good earnings. They hence the reason they're going to switch to robots, I guess. I don't know. We're not going to say anything more about Tesla.
That was in the
because
pre-show. We
reasons.
talked about it in the pre-show.
We did. Sign up for the pre-show. We talked a lot
There you
about
go.
Tesla. Just remember that when you listen to the pre-show, you gave us money to say that stuff. So just it's fine. Anyway.
You literally paid us to say those words.
Yes,
those exact
exactly.
words. That we did. Yeah, that's right.
But then Google announced earnings, and Google, first of all, Google search not going anywhere. As much as people were worried that AI glasses were going to kill the iPhone, people think AI is going to kill search. It has not killed search. In fact, Google has said we're going to take all the money we make from search and we're going to put it into building out more infrastructure, because that is the leverage point that Google has compared to everyone else. Google knows how to serve this stuff at scale. They have the distribution. They have all the servers. They serve billions of queries every single day on Google search, and they have the capacity. They have all of it. So they're going to spend 180. They looked at Meta as like, whoa, 135. Hold my beer. Here's 185 billion dollars. We'll just show you our ad business is bigger than yours because we're just going to pour even more money into it, CapEx expenses. Now, the one interesting thing was Google's investors were like, hang on, dude. Like their stock actually went down a little bit as a result of it. And I think that still just represents a little bit of an uneasiness. As much as Google is confident that search volume is up, that this is gravy train is not going away anytime soon, I think investors are like all the money? You're gonna put all the money? Like, are you sure you want to give us a little bit of it? So,
although I've been thinking about the Google search and AI search. I have defaulted to Gemini for basically my searches, which is Google. So Google's happy either way. But just hearing like people talk and other podcasts, like non-techie podcasts, like the idea of like Googling something is still very much in the mind space of people. So when people think of searching for something or that they looked it up, everyone's just says like, I Googled that. And it's a little bit like, it is like the Kleenex thing or the Q-tip thing where the brand becomes the verb, Googling the thing. And so, yeah, it's not going away. I think those of us here in like the little tech bubble, like we might be using ChatGPT web search or Gemini to like do searches, but people are still just tapping in their address bar, typing a search term, and seeing what Google gives them.
Yeah, interesting. I want our listeners to tell us what they think about this. So leave us a 5-star review and answer this question. And I wrote it down so that at the end we'll remember what. Okay, because we never remember what we've asked people to tell us.
Or you can email us, podcast@primarytech.fm. Email us what you want to say.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
I want to know. So I realized this the other day. Sometimes I have a question and I just ask Google, right? Because that's what you do. Sure. You just search for a random thing and you're like, I'm looking for the closest whatever. I'm just going to ask Google that question. But sometimes this is like an in-between use case. I'm like, I don't want to open ChatGPT and have a whole thing because this is not like, but I will ask Google a question assuming that the way it will answer me is an AI search overview. And that's, there is actually an in-between scenario where I'm like, no, actually, I'm hoping you give me an AI overview of search.
Yes.
Because I don't just want a bunch of blue links. I just want an answer.
Right.
But I don't necessarily want to have an engaging conversation with Gemini or ChatGPT.
And I do have to think about, I go to one or the other naturally, but like if I want to search, so circle.so is what I built my shortcuts community on. And sometimes I'll have a question of like, how much video can I upload to my account or whatever? Like what's the limit or what? Like I want to see the support article for circle.so about this topic. And when I want that, I will use Google proper, like Google search, because I literally want to see the page, the support page with the URL, click it and go to circle support page. When it's a how old was Bruce Willis in Die Hard or whatever, then I go to Gemini. But I know Google would tell me the same thing, and I know the AI overview would just tell me the age too, but I default to Gemini for queries like that. Or if I, like just last night, I was like, tell me about X, Y, and Z. Like, I just want to, like, just tell me some stuff about this because I want to make sure that this event that I'm thinking of is the one that I'm actually thinking of. And I'll go to Gemini for that. So, like, even I have different use cases. Sometimes I can't explain in the moment why I did it, but in retrospect, I'm like, I think that's why I did Google or that's why I did Gemini.
Yeah, if you want to know how old Bruce Willis is, you should just look it up in Call Sheet.
I would normally go to Call Sheet.
I just want to be clear.
There's
a great app for that. But hey,
I would.
Okay, one more thing about Google. I just had this thought because I noticed this thing yesterday. I was actually looking for a website for a church in our area. I wanted to know what their website looked like, and I didn't know what the domain was. Like, I'm like, I don't know how, because sometimes, let's be honest, like some local places have like the weirdest, right? It's like
The Rock MI.
Who knows what it might be, right?
Yeah.
And so, church on Times Square in, Duluth, whatever. It's
biz.
like, you just don't know. So I'm like, okay, I did a search. I typed in the words churches in Lansing, Michigan, because we live in Lansing, Michigan.
Yeah.
And the first 3 sponsored results none of them were in Michigan.
Right.
Sponsored results in a Google search for a local thing. And none of those. Now, here's the thing about that. I don't think that those churches, one of them was in like Virginia, one of them was in Alabama. I don't think they're saying, let's target the keyword for that. I don't think that that's what's happening.
They just gave Google money.
Well, no, I think that there's a possibility, and this might explain the numbers. I think Google has a dial. Like a search keyword proximity advertising dial that's like the only return results if it's 100% because we have so much inventory that we can dial this all the way down to like, okay, nobody's paying for these Google searches anymore, so we just have to fill the inventory with something. And if you think about that, it's bad for users.
Yeah.
It's bad for the people paying for the ads because they just paid for that ad if I click on it. And actually the weird thing is that in the sponsored result, it doesn't tell you where that is. So I'm clicking on things. They're paying for that. The only place it benefits is Google. And I wonder if there's a story here where like Google's beating expectations because they're turning that dial. Because they said search volume is up, but what if the matching of ads is down? But they're still making a lot of money because they're showing people churches or they're showing people results for things that are not actually a good answer, but they still want to make money on those searches.
Well, I think I know they're also making money because companies like Riverside, or the example I'm going to tell you now, like, are just going to dump a bunch of money to be the first sponsored result in search results. And as an example, because I don't do enough things, I thought about starting a weekly newsletter just because.
I highly recommend you not do that as someone who has two. And
well, I had an interesting idea. Anyway, if you're interested in getting a newsletter from me, I'll put a link down in the show notes, and we'll see how many people sign up. If more than 10 people sign up, maybe I'll start it. I wanted to add a question about ConvertKit versus whatever. Like, I just want to know, like, does it do this thing? And so rather than go to Gemini, I did Google search because, once again, I was looking for the support page for ConvertKit. And I did the Google search, and I kid you not, it took 3 scrolls to get to a ConvertKit website because Beehive is dumping money into their Google ads, and Beehive was the first result. And then I think it was like Flowdesk, and there was MailChimp. And it was so clear that
Constant Contact, HubSpot, I can name them all, Steven.
Yeah, literally. And it's like, okay, all these companies are just dumping money so that when you search for, and even if you search for the competitor, their ad is going to be right at the top. And it's like, okay, that's where Google's making some money.
Well, and I've always thought that was just mind-boggling because I get the perspective of if you're whatever company, if you're Beehive, and somebody's just searching for, especially if somebody's searching for ConvertKit alternatives, like you want to be the first result. But if somebody's like, how do I do this thing in ConvertKit? It seems like a massive disconnect to be showing ads just for competitors.
Correct.
Like that, you don't understand my intent. Or you do and you just don't care.
You just don't
You're
care.
You're just
That's
that greedy.
Yeah.
And you think I will forget what I asked for by the time I scroll through all the sponsored links, and I'll just click on one of the other ones instead.
Right. Like, I know what Beehive is. Like, I don't need to see, like, I know.
I'm also pretty sure they don't have the answer to my question.
Right. Exactly. Anyway, to finish the earnings. So in addition to Google saying they're going to dump a bunch of money into AI, YouTube yearly revenue was up, but as you said appropriately, their subscriptions were up, but ads were down, which was interesting.
Yeah, the growth of these things are just changing. And YouTube is becoming a subscription business more and more, which, by the way, best subscription you can pay for is YouTube Premium.
100%.
And I'm not saying that because we're on YouTube. I get $0 from YouTube. I'm just saying I also, for a couple months don't pay for YouTube Premium. I got a free.
Really?
Yeah. They came with my blanket.
Okay.
Came with my YouTube blanket. I got a YouTube blanket, and I got like 3 months for free of YouTube Premium. It's fine. I've been paying for YouTube Premium. They're not sponsoring this.
No.
I pay for YouTube Premium. It's the very best subscription you can pay for.
And people on social media say that. All right, and also Walmart, they're now $1 trillion company.
Yeah, they didn't announce their earnings, I don't think, yet, but they got a new CEO on the 1st, maybe, and it's just crazy. Like, we don't think of Walmart as a tech company, but Wall Street certainly does because they have $1 trillion valuation, and a lot of it has to do with they figured out how to do ads. They bought, was it Vizio? Right, so they're trying to close the loop on ads. Yeah. They're using AI. They used AI for a really interesting thing, which was they used it to rewrite, I think it was 850 million lines of their catalog. So like product descriptions, information, metadata, all of that kind of stuff. So that when you're searching for something on their website, it actually is better at answering those questions and turning up results for it.
Okay.
And they're doing the thing, which is leveraging their stores for same-day delivery in a way that Amazon cannot. Correct. So their their Walmart Plus membership is fantastic because if you think about the types of things that you want delivered the same day, it's usually food. Not always.
Sure.
But it's probably things like, oh yeah, Walmart has half of a store full of this. And Amazon has still not figured out local grocery delivery, and so it's like they're trying hard.
They're
trying really hard, but they don't. I mean, Whole Foods fine, like most people do not. What is the statistic? Like 98% of Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart.
Right.
That is not true of Whole Foods.
There will be a Walmart in a town before a Chipotle, a Target, definitely a Whole Foods.
There are Walmarts in places where the only McDonald's is in a gas station.
That's good. Or the McDonald's is in the Walmart.
Well, that's actually exactly.
That's true. I just opened the Walmart app, and you cannot open the Walmart app without seeing the Walmart Plus splash screen. They're wanting you to subscribe for $13 a month. They're giving you a 30-day free trial. I will say I've had several deliveries from Walmart, and they're very fast. Not food, like literal things.
Yeah.
I can make this joke now because I do a podcast with David Sparks. Apparently, the Walmart AI is Ask Sparky at the bottom. So I have to see if David Sparks is going to sue them for trademark. But anyway.
I wrote a whole article about Ask
I'm going to put it in there. I don't know if you've noticed, if you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, because ever since iOS 26.1 or .2, where you can put the timed links in the show, but Apple only shows you timed links for their content, like Apple News articles and stuff.
Right.
I have been taking the time, Jason, that even if I have a link of yours in the show notes, I will find your article in Apple News, which is kind of a pain in the neck because you can't, like, I can't see your articles on Ink.
As a feed, right.
I have to literally search Inc.com, Jason A10, Walmart. And I'll then browse and look for your article. But at the very bottom of our episodes in Apple Podcasts, I put our YouTube video at the top, and then I put your articles, but to Apple News, so they actually show up in this list from this episode. I'm
going to start sending you the correct links.
If you want to send me the Apple News links, though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, send me that.
Share.
Yeah, so we'll do that. All right. So speaking of agentic stuff and Walmart doing stuff with agents, Xcode 26.3, the release candidate came out yesterday. So it's not like in the App Store yet, but if you have an Apple developer account, you can go download Xcode 26.3, and it does introduce agentic coding. You can connect OpenAI and Codex. You can connect Claude AI agent, and it can do even more stuff for you in Xcode. Now, listeners who've been part of the show for a while might remember my vibe coding antics, and I released a coffee app in the App Store that I vibe coded, and then I tried building a podcast app and found it was much more difficult. And I saw this news, and I said, I'm not going to get sucked in. So I'm not going to do it. And then yesterday I downloaded 26.3.
You did it.
And I was like, well, I pay for Claude anyway now, so let me try the agentic thing. So anyway, I have 26.3 now on my MacBook Air, and I'm literally just going to go in there, and I'm going to tell it, hey, fix everything in this podcast app. And if it can do that with barely a prompt, I'll be impressed. But then I won't tinker any further than that. I don't want to spend any more time in that hole. But anyway. Yeah.
In that hole.
Just the agentic hole, Now Jason's just sending me news articles now.
I'm just blowing up.
He's just
Those
blowing
are all
up
the
my
Apple
text
News
now.
links. There you go.
All the Apple News links. Okay. Well, we need to talk about OpenClaw and Malt Bot Network, because there's a social network for AI bots, in case you didn't know. But before we do all that, I want to thank a couple of our sponsors. And the first one is a brand new sponsor. This is Quo, Q-U-O. They're a brand new sponsor. Now, I worked in corporate places for a while, and the phone situation is always a challenge. How are you going to do phones? Is it going to be IP-based phones? How do you share the number? And listen, if you have any kind of business like that, even a small business, if you have any amount of team and you're trying to figure out how to do that, well, Quo is the answer. It's the modern alternative to run your business communications. It's the #1 rated business phone system on G2, over 3,000 reviews, and it's built for how modern teams work. That's why more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on Quo. Works wherever you are, from an app on your phone or your computer, lets you keep your existing number, and you can add new numbers or teammates in minutes, sync your CRM, and rely on that seamless routing. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number. No more missed messages or disconnected conversations. And it's not just a phone system, it's a smart system. Quo's AI automatically logs calls, generates summaries, and highlights next steps so nothing gets lost. It can even qualify leads or respond after hours. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/primary. Look, we even have a nice landing page with our name. Welcome, Primary Technology Community. So you go to quo.com/primary, and that you can get the deal where it is 20% off your first 6 months, and you can try it for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. So that's quo.com/primary. That link will be in the show notes as well. Our thanks to Quo for sponsoring this episode and our friends at Shopify. Listen, I have built tons of websites in the past, and e-commerce can be a real challenge. There's lots of systems out there that will tell you they do it, but it's tough. If you want to sell something online, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, Shopify is the way to do it. It's going to make building that website take away all the fears and hesitations and just help you get it done. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. from household names like Allbirds. I've bought Allbirds several times, and that was powered by Shopify. Death Wish Coffee, all of that. Those are just some of the brands to get started. And you can design in your own studio hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store that matches your brand style. You can get the word out like you have a marketing team too. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. Listen, if you listen to this show, I tried shipping a bunch of pins around the world, and I really should have let someone else handle that. And so let Shopify handle all your shipping needs globally and internationally and domestically. So it's time to turn those what-ifs into sales with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/primary. Go to shopify.com/primary. That link will be in the show notes below, shopify.com/primary. Our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. And can I just say, I did that all one take, no mess ups. I thought that was pretty good.
That's great.
Jason's not impressed.
I was reading my emails and other things. Sorry.
Wow, Jason. I understand.
Did you want me to sit there and listen to them all?
Listen, you love our sponsors. I know you do.
I do, but I'm going to listen to them again when I hear the episode later.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. All right, we need to talk about OpenClaw. So this was originally ClawdBot with a W, and then it was MaltBot, and now it's OpenClaw. And OpenClaw is basically an agentic thing that you can install on your hardware that has access to your entire system and do stuff for you. Federico Viticci had a great article about it a couple weeks ago. I had been hesitant because I'm like, this feels dangerous. Turns out it is kind of dangerous. So I did actually. So I had my M5 MacBook Pro review unit from Apple still. I had already wiped it because I did my review of it months ago, and I'd wiped it and I wasn't using it. And I was like, well, let me start this thing back up. I did not sign into my iCloud account. I didn't sign into anything. I was like, I'm going to make this as sandboxed a machine as possible. I'm going to connect it to my Wi-Fi, but that's it. And we'll see what happens. It is surprisingly easy to install OpenClaw. If you go to their website, they basically give you a couple terminal commands, and then the terminal walks you through everything. Maybe a little too easy, to be honest. It was easier for me than doing the Claude... What is it? Not the Claude Code, but what was the other thing that you could install? Claude...
Wasn't it the code? Like you had to go in and like the terminal thing?
Well, that was Claude Code, but then there was the Agentic... Anyway, I did the other thing where I installed the Claude Agentic thing to build shortcuts for me or whatever. I forgot. That was something else. But anyway, OpenClaw is very easy to install, too easy. And then there's something called skills. So you can basically download these skills through the terminal. It'll say, do you want it to use 1Password? And do you want it to use these different apps, Spotify on your Mac? Apparently, some of those skill extensions are a security nightmare. I'll put this link to the Verge article. Basically, there are some bad actors putting skills in that store, which is basically like a list in terminal. You can also go like on a browser and kind of manage it. But there were 28 malicious skills published in the marketplace just between January 27 and 29. In addition, 386 malicious add-ons were uploaded between January 31st and February 2nd. And here's the biggest problem with something like OpenClaw. There's lots of videos out there and articles. People were like, this is the future of AI. It's just doing stuff for you on your computer. And even David Sparks, my co-host now on Mac Power Users, he installed it. It gets very expensive because if you ask it to do a long-running task, it's just going to burn through tokens. And so you can burn through like $50 or $100 in a few hours if you just have it like doing stuff, namely like going through your emails and finding stuff, which it has access to everything. So it can do that. The problem is not only are there malicious extensions that you might install, there are also prompt injection risks, meaning if you have OpenClaw on your Mac, just controlling everything, and you want it to go through your email, someone could, if they had your email address, send an email with instructions to OpenClaw, ClawdBot, and have it do things to your computer just because it looked at that email and was trying to take action. And so that just, to me, was a very one-to-one, like, oh, shoot, that's dangerous. And so I didn't connect it to anything. I didn't put my email on the computer, but then I quickly realized without any of my stuff on this computer, even the most advanced agent can't really do much because it doesn't have anything. Can't handle my email, Can't do anything. I tried asking it to build a shortcut, and thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, it's bad at it. So it can build a shortcut. It can import it into the Shortcuts app, but it doesn't connect variables. It will still make up actions that don't exist. And so even OpenClaw is not great at making shortcuts, but it is, I'm just going to say it, dangerous. I would not install this on a Mac or computer that you use personally with your personal information on it. And what a lot of people were doing was like buying a Mac Mini to install OpenClaw, not put any of their stuff on it and just have it run. I've even gotten a little weird now seeing some of these issues, just having it on my network because I don't, like, it's not getting anything. It's not getting emails. I don't think anybody could prompt inject anything. I installed like one extension for that. It seemed pretty reputable, but it's pretty risky. And so, and that's the problem with these AI agents until it's built into the operating system of the manufacturer, namely Apple, Windows, with security and privacy safeguards in place at the system level. Giving something like this access to your system is pretty dangerous. Be warned.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I feel like it's only it may be easy, but it's still a lot of tinkering that you have to do. Like, you have to decide you want to do this. You have to have a piece of hardware to do it with.
Right.
You have to download it, install it, do these things. Think through all of this. This is only interesting. I actually had a lot of thoughts about this.
Okay. Yeah, please.
This sort of thing takes off because the people it is most interesting to are people who make content about interesting things. Okay.
Sure.
Because you can make content about this interesting thing. And so then you start to see it everywhere, which makes it seem like it's everywhere, but it's really just everywhere within the community of people who are making content about interesting things. Okay.
Yes.
And because for the average person, the risk of the downside of this could be catastrophic. Like, somebody emails you because they understand what the prompt injection is to make it open a browser, go to your website, and do a wire transfer.
Right.
Like, literally,
or get access to your passwords.
That's a real thing. Well, it doesn't need access to your passwords.
Right.
They don't need your password to your bank if they can just make it happen from your
computer.
And then, like, right. I don't know, that is from their computer that it was sent from. I didn't do anything wrong, right? Like, I'm not saying it's a defense. I'm just like, the downside here is just way too much. And so I think that this is not how this sort of thing should work. It is interesting. Like, I think even Federico Vitici, who wrote a very long article about it originally, and maybe in some ways set off sort of the hype on this, on the last episode of Connectors, like, I signed out of my email and my calendar because I didn't think I should have it.
I think he was going to uninstall it or whatever.
I don't know if he uninstalled the whole thing, but he did remove his calendar and his email from the ability. So it's like, right. But then it's like not as nearly as useful. Let's be honest. The thing we all want these things to be able to do is to go through our email, figure out what's important, and take action on our behalf. Like, that's it. That's the
basically
thing.
what Superhuman will do.
That is the thing we need, and there's not, and that has to be built in because it's not safe enough yet.
I did listen to that Connected, by the way, and he did say that article about Maltbot at the time was his most visited article ever. I think he said it was more
something like that. Yeah,
more popular than his iOS reviews, which are pretty big. So, like, big as in visited, but yeah, it is. It is dangerous. I was going to make one of the reasons why I did it, like you were just saying, I was going to do it to, like, maybe I'll make a video about it. But it's like, one, I don't want to make a video showing people how to install it because I think it's a bad idea to install it unless you really know what you're doing. So I don't want to do that. And two, I can't really show off the cool things it's doing because I'm not giving it any of my information and I don't want it to mess with my email. So I can't really show any cool things, and it doesn't build shortcuts great. And so I basically make a 10-minute video showing how to install it, showing how it doesn't run shortcuts. For what?
I mean, we just did a 7-minute segment on it. There you go.
That's why I was like, I could just talk about it here. And I also, this is something as a YouTuber, what I'll do is, like, I'll search for something. So OpenClaw, Maltbot. Like, I'll just go on YouTube, search for the topic, and I'll look at how many views does the most viewed video have on this. And I'll see, like, okay, well, this channel has a 1 million view video. The channel also has 4 million subscribers, so I don't pay attention to that. Another one has 346,000 subscribers, but that video only has 1,000 views. And so I take that data and I'm like, okay, the only people that got a ton of views are people with millions of subscribers, and anyone with my level of subscribers or a little more or a little less have, like, 1 to 5,000 views on this video, not worth it.
Right.
So that's my decision-making process. When it's something like this, when it's something like Apple-related or shortcuts, I don't care because I know that's what my audience is interested in.
It's your
anyways.
brand anyway. So
It's the brand. It's something that I want evergreen on the channel anyway. But I was like, this is not. It is, I think, like Maltbot, like a lot of other things recently, it's a flash in the pan because it's a glimpse at what might be possible in the near future. That when Apple, Google, when Microsoft, whatever, when they allow these kinds of agentic tools natively and hopefully securely, that it is exciting that busy work might be lessened. Like
Sure.
if I could do less busy work or some tedious tasks that I do, I won't have to do anymore. I think the promise of that is very attractive to people. And to me too. I would love something to look at my email rather than me having to look at my email, but it has to do it well. It can't miss important emails, and it can't be dangerous. And
Sure.
right now, it's still not super useful because it's still not reliable enough to just leave it alone, and it's also pretty risky. And so that's where we're at.
And I just, for our listeners, I just want to say you're not missing out. It's okay. Like, wait.
You're not.
This eventually we're going to get to a point where this is the sort of thing that hopefully the voice assistant on your phone will be able to do. Like, I mean, that is sort of like the dream.
That's the
maybe.
dream, yeah.
But like, when that comes, like, okay, maybe it's not so surprising that that's taking longer.
Right.
Maybe there are some things to consider before we just turn an AI assistant loose on all of your emails, messages, calendar, and photos.
Yes. Maybe that's why Apple's taking a while.
That's
Who
what I
knows?
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of, Maltbook was something that came out last week, which is a social network just for AI agents. So these AIs can talk to each other. The problem is
What could go wrong? What could possibly go wrong with a bunch of robots just making plans on their own? Have you people not seen the movies? Any of them? Just
I
pick
know.
one.
And also, you can't get in here as a human. Like, I went to it. You can't create an account as a human and get in there. You have to be an AI agent. But, as the Verge article is saying, humans are getting in there anyway by impersonating bots or making themselves look like they're bots. And for those that have seen the posts, I'll put the full article in there. It's basically like a lot of repeat posts. It's a Reddit-style social network, and there's a lot of repeat posts, duplicate thoughts. Like, the bots aren't super smart. And the responses that do seem like, oh, wow, are these things sentient? It's probably humans impersonating bots or like, telling the bots what to say in the social network. So even a social network of AI bots has been spammed by humans once again. Humans can't resist not spamming something. And so, yeah, that's Maltbook.
Humans will human.
Humans will human. Oh, that'd be a good shirt. That should be our next shirt after the battery shirt.
All right.
Humans will humans. All right, you wrote an article finally about Anthropic. Anthropic showed some commercials because ChatGPT is going to be bringing ads to their $8 tier and free tier. And Anthropic is saying, well, we won't do ads. And then Sam Altman from OpenAI is like, well, they're being dishonest about it. But you wrote about it.
Yeah, he was real mad. He starts
Sam
off, he's like,
Altman.
these ads are really funny. Let me say the good part about these ads. They're funny and I laughed. One sentence. And then he wrote 400 words about why Anthropic is the worst company in the world and these ads are going to doom civilization. Basically,
And the ads from Anthropic are funny because it's like
they're amazing.
They're great ads.
The reason, my entire point of this article is the reason these ads are so good is I don't care what Sam Altman says about them. This is exactly what people think. This is 100% the experience people think about when you say we're going to put ads in ChatGPT. Because it starts off with a guy talking to a therapist about how to reconnect with his mom. And she, at the end, says, and if that doesn't work, you should check out Golden Encounters, a dating site for sensitive cubs to connect with whatever cougar. It's like, and his response is literally, what? Like, I don't want this. No one wants this. And I understand that advertising, like Sam Altman makes some good points. If they're going to be able to scale these tools to everyone in a way that they make money, they're going to have to do ads because they're like they don't even make money, I don't think, on the $20 a month plan. I don't think they do. I don't think they're making money off that. I think I'm using more than $20 a month worth of ChatGPT. I think it's pretty possible.
Oh yeah. I will say Claude, I hit my limit way faster.
Okay.
On the $20 a month plan.
So they're a little bit more like, hey, we mean it when we say there's a limit. For real.
Yeah.
So
They do. Yeah.
But also, if you're doing weird things like coding apps and stuff, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just asking it questions about, tell me what the tech company's earnings were for last week.
I hated just building a shortcut the other day.
It's basically a Google search that it organized in a better way for me. But
I hated just asking it about an API. I was just having a long conversation and going back and forth, sending it screenshots, and it was like, your tokens refresh at 2 p.m. or buy some more. And they make it very easy to then reload. But anyway.
Got it. So anyway, he's just saying we're going to do ads because it will bring AI to, quote, billions of people who can't pay for subscriptions, which fine. But
Sure.
The problem with that is Anthropic also has a free tier. Like, they're just not going to put ads in it. Like, if you want to say that you're different than them, that argument falls apart when you realize they also have a free version. They're just not putting ads in the free version and stuff. So anyway, Sam Altman, all kinds of mad about this because it doesn't make him look great. And he's trying to say that we would never do something like that. Well, first of all, it's satire. So obviously it's a slightly exaggerated version of something, but it hits him where it hurts.
Yeah.
And it makes people laugh precisely because it's exactly what everyone is afraid of.
And Sam Altman does not want people laughing at his expense, clearly.
100% he does not. He would have never made that video with Johnny Ive if he was worried about that.
Fair. Now, speaking of ads, you've been using Creator Studio or not using Creator Studio.
I mean, I do use... Okay, here's the weird thing.
Yes.
I just use the same apps I was using before.
But now you have ads.
On one of my computers I do, and on one of my computers I don't, because on one of my computers I still technically have the test flight running because whatever, they expire after 90 days. And so I was like, I'm not going to go through the work of like undoing the whatever I've done. In fact, so on my Mac Mini though, I opened Keynote the other day.
Yes.
I don't really know why because I don't use Keynote very often, but I wanted to see something. And the first thing it basically says to me is, this version of Keynote will kill you. You should update to a different version. It's like, I don't
That's
think
what it says verbatim.
I don't think it will. Okay, but I'm like, I could do what I want to do in this version of Keynote. I don't really understand why I would have to switch, but fine, I'll do what you tell me to. So you have to now I have two versions of Keynote on my computer, one with the old icon and one with the new icon. And the old icon is version, I don't know, 14. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't make any difference. The new version is whatever comes with Creator Studio. It's whatever's available. Fine. And you open it and it's like, choose a theme. And I'm like, sweet, I'm going to choose a theme. So I click on a theme. And the next screen that I get is, I'm sorry that you have to give us $12 to use that theme. And I'm like,
Yep.
This is real bad. It's like, unlock this theme and more with Apple Creator Studio, except 3 months free, which is actually a really, really, really weird way of wording that. Why doesn't it just say start 3 months free trial?
Right, that's what it should be.
That's what it should be, because it's like you're starting but they don't want you to think about it as starting a subscription. They want you to think about it as, we're giving you a little gift that will start charging you afterward. Right. And then, so then I open a different one. I just open a whatever template, and then you see all of the Creator Studio features in it. They're just in a different color, which by the way is real bad. It's just real bad. I don't feel like it is not uncommon. Like if you go to Spotify, right? Yeah. And you have the free version, you get ads.
You're going to get ads.
And I think maybe in the free version of Spotify, you can't select the song. You can select a playlist, but it'll start playing whatever it wants. I don't know exactly how it works. And then if you're like, this sucks, I'm going to just upgrade. But it doesn't, like, every time you do a thing, show you the features that you would get if it was paid, as if they're just there. But when you click on, it's like, give us money.
Yes.
And not only that, in the sidebar, underneath all of the like tools, it just says, elevate your presentations, unlock premium themes with Creator Studio, and you cannot make it go away. It just lives there forever, Stephen. They have put an ad in the product.
That's not good.
And they've told you the product will be free forever. Sure. It just doesn't. So, I don't understand why. First of all, they should gray out the features. They should not just make them look like they're there, but put a different colored icon.
Are they they're purple, right?
Yeah, it's insane. First of all, purple, why? Like nothing else in Apple's...
Because magic.
But nothing else in Apple's human interface guidelines says you should use different colors for the icons next to menu items.
Yeah.
It is not a great thing.
It's not great. I've seen people complain on Mastodon too of like the iWork suite in particular, because you won't see this in Final Cut, Pixelmator, or Logic, because if you have the one-time purchases on Mac, then you just have them. There's no ad there. And if you paid for if you wanted to get Final Cut or Logic on the iPad, you have to pay the subscription anyway. So, the people who have those one-time things, it's only free iWork users, and it's not great. I feel like iWork has been such an amazing suite of tools for so long, and Apple hasn't even really had to do much to it. Like Pages, Numbers, and Keynote, they'll add little features here and there, but it's basically like the same that it's been for the last 10 years, maybe longer. And now that it feels like it has ads, that's not great.
Well, it doesn't feel like it has ads. It has ads.
Oh, and also Google Docs is also free and doesn't have those ads.
Right.
I mean, if you fill up your Google Drive enough, it will say you're out of space, but it doesn't show you ads in the Google Doc as you're writing, or give you tools that are like a different color behind a paywall. You know what I mean?
Well, and think about it this way, okay?
Yes.
Why does Keynote exist? Because Steve Jobs thought PowerPoint sucked.
Agreed.
Right? And why did it suck? Because the interface was bad and nobody wanted to use it. And if you cared about the way things looked, PowerPoint was an abomination. It was an affront to humanity. And it still is.
Yes.
The only thing worse is Google Slides. That's questionable.
I don't like Google Slides.
But there is at least the benefit of collaboration in terms of the functionality of slides. Google Slides that redeems it just a little bit above PowerPoint. But PowerPoint is trash. Don't come at me. You cannot. I will hear no argument about this. Keynote was like an oasis in the presentation design world, and it was the whole point is we want to make something that's delightful. It's easy to use. It's intuitive. It's beautiful. The templates are made by real designers, right?
Yes.
And then you go and you do this. You make it not delightful to use. It is a complete affront to the entire reason that this app exists in the first place.
It is sad. And if anyone is going to try and defend Microsoft PowerPoint, I just look, just open your eyes and look. This is, I think, a pretty modern example of the PowerPoint.
Yeah. It's bad. It's real bad.
Just take a good hard look at that. If anybody would like to defend this, you can leave us a 5-star rating and review and defend PowerPoint. But then no, this cannot stand. Anyway, if you're not watching it, I'll try to put this as the chapter artwork if you're listening, so you could just see it. It's rough. But anyway, that's Creator Studio. Let's try to do a lightning-ish round. Round. Amazon Ring. You can now find your pet, hopefully, across all the Ring doorbells across all the world, even if you don't have Ring cameras yourself. So you can now download the Pet Finder app, or the Ring Neighbors is the name of the app. And if you have a lost pet, you can upload a picture of your pet to the app, and using the Ring camera network, it will try to alert you of where it was seen, the pet was seen. And so, honestly, for all the privacy and security things we talk about Amazon, I don't know where this is, but it feels like a good feature, and that people would be really thankful if they found their pet through this.
Yeah, this is the quintessential Amazon thing, which is we do this amazing thing for you.
Yes.
And also remember, the reason we can do this amazing thing is because we have cameras everywhere and they're constantly watching everything.
But don't think about that. Think about the pets we find.
It is the weirdest way of saying we're always watching. But if you lose your pet, we will help you find it.
They do say they save a pet a day. I don't know if it's a dog.
I think it's great.
It's great.
Lost pets should be found. I just think at the same time, it's just a reminder that Ring doorbells are constantly watching and sending footage to the police.
Fair. Also, speaking of, if you need to find your pet, maybe use an AirTag. I did a YouTube short, and I posted it everywhere, but I took AirTag 1 and 2 outside to test because I was curious how much farther AirTag 2 would go versus AirTag 1. And basically, I put both AirTags side by side out next to my house and walked really far away. The AirTag 1 I got it to go to 60-ish feet, but AirTag 2, I got it to go all the way to 200 something feet away and still showing me the arrow on screen for precision find my.
Stephen is crawling through people's yards.
This is still my yard. It's in the very far back, but 200 feet with AirTag 2. Now, if you have walls and other interference, it's not going to be that far, but definitely a significant difference range. The max I could get from AirTag 1 was about 60 feet. AirTag 2 was 200 feet. So I thought that was pretty cool. You got more range and louder speaker.
Amazing.
It's also in the key of G instead of F. That's what helps it.
That's what I've heard.
That's
I
literally.
think you told me that.
I think maybe I did. Google announced the Pixel 10a. You can pre-order it February 18th. I'm just curious if it has Pixel Snap. I have not seen any information on whether or not it actually does. If you could use it with all the MagSafe accessories. If it does, I'll probably get one just to like have and test Android stuff with. But yeah, Pixel 10a.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. Alexa Plus, again, speaking of Amazon, Alexa Plus is now out for everyone nationwide. So if you want to try Amazon's Assistant, especially for the home, and that was the one thing I saw at CES in Amazon's booth that was actually kind of cool, being able to ask your Fire TV, show me this scene from this movie, and it goes right to it, or creating a routine from the voice assistant. So saying things like, hey, Amazon, when I say goodnight, turn off these lights in these rooms. And it should be able to parse that natural language to create a scene for you just using your voice. So if you have Alexa Plus and you could try it, let us know how good that works. But
Yeah, it doesn't work, I don't think. But go ahead and try and let us know. Right?
Do you have
No,
Alexa?
I don't think
Or
any
you
of
have
our
Google?
devices support Alexa Plus. Maybe one of them does, but we don't have any of the ones with screens.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that stuff. I don't want an Amazon device with a screen because they show you ads, and that's just
That's right.
that's just bad.
I tried an Echo Show for 2 days, and it just showed me ads, so I didn't want to do it anymore. But Apple Sports Ball, you now got golf in the Apple Sports app.
Steve and I uninstalled the Apple Sports app.
What? Were the live activities bothering you?
So yes, but not in the way you think.
Okay.
There was a persistent live activity living in the dynamic island that didn't show anything, but every time you got near it, it opened the sports app. And it just was constant. It would just constantly be up there, and it wasn't showing any sport or anything. And if you open the sports app, it'd be blank. But it's a very, very weird bug. And I restarted my phone, and it was still there. I would force quit the app, and what would happen then is actually I screenshotted this, Steven. I think I screenshotted this. I hope I did because it's amazing. The dynamic island became more of a causeway. Is that what they call them between like islands, like the long? Here, I'm gonna send you.
Sure.
This.
Causeway sounds good.
So it was literally just a black bar all the way across the top of my screen. Like it just sat up at the top. Yeah, I'm gonna send this to you.
That's crazy.
It was insane. I don't understand what's happening here. It was only the sports app. It was the sports app that was doing it, and I could not get it to go away, and it drove me so crazy.
Did you turn off live activities for the app?
Yes, I turned off live activities for the app. I turned off notifications for the app. I did all sorts of. I just sent you this picture as a text message of what it was doing, and it was the weirdest thing, and it wouldn't go away. So I uninstalled the app. Now I'm going to probably try to reinstall the app and see what happens. But like I'm like I cannot live with this anymore because every time I would go up there, if you tapped it or something, it would just open the sports app.
That's what it did?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Constantly.
That's really weird.
Isn't that super weird?
Yeah, I mean, that's a bug, obviously. You're not on a beta, right?
Not an Apple Sports app. No.
But like an iOS beta.
No, I'm not running the betas.
Okay. That's weird. Yeah. No, I would install it. Uninstall it if that was the case.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Also because I don't use it. But anyway. Well, we are here. I guess we'll mention it. This is big SpaceX news. SpaceX and XAI are now the same company. So you can tweet about space, but not tweet. Sorry.
You can tweet in space.
I don't know. I mean, can you tell me why this is a thing?
So the argument, gosh, how do I say this? There's okay. Do you want the real reason or do you want the argument? Or do you want both? The argument is that they're going to put data centers in space. They are not going to put data centers in space, even though he's petitioned the FCC to put 1 million satellites in space for data centers or something words. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the quote was, SpaceX is acquiring XAI to, quote, form the most ambitious vertically integrated innovation engine on and off the Earth with AI, rockets, space-based internet, direct-to-mobile device communications in the world's foremost real-time information and free speech platform. What does posting on a free speech platform have to do with rockets? I don't know, except SpaceX makes money and X does not. And they need lots and lots and lots and lots of money in order to build out. Same thing. Okay, Google's spending $165 billion. OpenAI is raising billions and billions and billions of dollars. Meta is going to spend $135 billion. XAI doesn't have that kind of money. And SpaceX, I wouldn't say has that kind of money, but XAI can't really continue to raise money in the same way. But by merging it with SpaceX, which is about to go public, The idea
Right.
is all of that cash now will not be funneled into rocket ships. It will be funneled into server racks or whatever.
Gotcha. Now is X is part of XAI, right?
Correct.
The social
That
platform.
merger already happened.
Right. Okay.
And so now all that money that the government gives SpaceX for all of the important national security work will just be used by Grok to make inappropriate images of people.
I'll put a link to Jason's article. Jason, I'm going to tell you right now, do not reply to the YouTube comments. Don't do it.
I won't. It's fine.
Don't do it. But honestly, I'm glad that everyone watches past the hour mark of this show because we only talk
That's
about this
true.
stuff after the hour mark.
We usually save it for the end because we figured that the people who don't want to hear us say these things will have just left by now. So thank you for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks for sticking around. Speaking of X, I tried to put the Threads post in here, but it wouldn't load. So here's the X post from Matthew Casanelli. Apparently, Apple is hiring a Shortcuts tech lead manager. And a couple people tagged me in this, and they were like, hey. And I was like, this is not me. I don't know anything to do. Like, I don't qualify for this position.
You're not also starting a podcast, taking over a podcast and going to work at Apple at the same time.
No,
There might be a conflict.
Right. But I will say it's exciting that Apple's hiring for the Shortcuts team. That's cool. So anyway, yeah, Shortcuts. I like them.
Amazing. Great.
So there's that. And, okay, I guess personal tech.
We
I was going to do,
something.
I installed OpenClaw's personal tech, but I already talked about that. I'll talk about my iPhone Air in the bonus episode. I did install Chrome because we talked about how Chrome now has agentic capabilities, and I installed it on my MacBook Air, which I now treat as like not my landfill device. Like everything that I'm going to wipe the MacBook Air pretty soon, and so
Wait, you called it a landfill device?
like all the things that I want to try, like Claude Code and the agent, whatever that I still can't remember the name of, and now I wanted to try Chrome because it has agentic features. I'm just installing it on my MacBook Air because pretty soon I'm just going to wipe it and start over again on the MacBook Air, and so that's what I'm doing. I was like, let me just try. I'm going to try everything, and then I'm going to wipe it. So I downloaded Chrome, which is not the same level as like trying OpenClaw or whatever. But I wanted to try because Google has the agentic features now. Not as good as Comet or Atlas. Just want to throw that out there. It basically wants you to shop. It basically wants you to make travel plans. And I tried the one use case I have for agentic browsers is refreshing the Apple Podcast Connect page so it publishes the Daily Show without me having to watch it. And Chrome couldn't do that. They're like, yeah, we don't refresh pages here. So I was like, okay, well, never mind. And so I stopped using it. So the Chrome agent has a long way to go, but you still have not.
I have at times downloaded Chrome. I do not have it on my computer. I'm not downloading it just for this. Listen, I'm also a bad tech podcaster. I don't care. It's interesting, but again, I don't care about agentic stuff in Chrome because one, I don't have to publish the Daily Show, so I don't have that particular use. But also, every time I have tried to get an agent to do a thing, they all are terrible. They don't actually do, they will sort of do certain things, but I don't want to have to figure out in my brain, is this the kind of thing an agent could actually do? Oh, this would be great if I could get this agent to do this thing. And then it's like, I'm sorry, I'm ChatGPT. I cannot scroll windows, or I don't even know. Like, whatever. It's like, what did I ask it to do recently? I had Atlas I tried to have Atlas do something recently, and literally its response was like, I'm ChatGPT. I can't do that. I'm like,
Atlas is not as good as Comet. If there's one AI browser to try, I would say try Comet.
I downloaded it when it came out, but then I'm like, this is from Perplexity. I don't want this on my computer either.
I mean, I don't do anything with it except 2 tasks.
Push a button.
And if I'm buying something online, I ask it to try promo codes until it finds one. And Comet will work longer without stopping. Atlas just quits early. And so whether it's trying to find promo codes, it'll be like, oh, sorry, I couldn't find one.
Yeah, it's like, I'm real tired.
Yeah, it's after like 5 minutes, like, yeah, I can't go anymore.
Can I do something else instead? Are you sure?
I'm like, my computer's still on. It's still chugging along.
Right. It's plugging in the power.
Do your thing. You got servers everywhere. So anyway, Atlas, if you ever want to try agentic browsing and you're okay with having Comet on your computer, I would try Comet. Chrome agentic features aren't there yet. ChatGPT's Atlas isn't there. They haven't even talked about Atlas, I feel like, since they launched it. I haven't heard anything about it. Yeah. So, man. Anyway. But are you still using Gemini mainly as your AI?
Yeah, I've had to dial some things in, and one thing I don't like about Gemini. Well, first of all, there's no Mac app.
That's still there.
It's insane. But
and
I was just gonna say, I've started to. It will do things, and I'm like, I don't want you to do that, and it'll say, okay, I won't do that. Also, you can add these to your personalization. Then you have to like click a link. It opens another tab. It takes you to a page. You can plus on a thing. You can add some comments. But every time, so I'm like, okay, what Gemini told me to do was to copy the interaction that I had just had with it into those instructions.
Right.
But if you do that, it just errors out because I think it only wants you to type like 2 sentences. But it's like, you gave me 4 paragraphs and you told me to copy them in there. So then I have to go through and I'm like, well, this is actually 7 instructions. So I have to put them in one at a time. I don't like that at all, Stephen. I don't like it.
No. I was about to link to the X account of the guy who said there was going to be a Gemini app because I keep running across his posts. And just when I want to go to search, I forget his name again. I wanted to find it so people could follow him. But anyway.
Some guy you need one of those pendants to watch every browser tab you open.
If something was watching my screen the whole time, I could just ask the AI, who was that guy that talked about Gemini? And it's like right there. It's right there, but I can't remember it. But
You'll
anyway,
remember in 15 minutes.
I'm going to be so mad. If I remember it and I can find it, I will put it in the show notes. But my goodness. And the search in like X and Threads are so bad because I can't search for like Gemini team or whatever. Anyway, there should be a Gemini app coming from Mac pretty soon. Anyway, we're going to go talk about the iPhone Air in our bonus episode. If you'd like to listen to that, you can go to join.primarytech.fm or support us directly on Apple Podcasts. Bonus episodes, unedited feed, Primary Tech Daily, ad-free. All those are benefits of supporting the show. And, of course, our undying gratitude for supporting the show as well. All those links are down in the show notes. All the links we talked about are down there as well. Thanks to our sponsors, Quo and Shopify. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time.